Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Hagen-Botham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, Andrew Bartolotta.
Welcome back to the cityCURRENT Show, where we bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good in our community and around the globe. I'm your host, Andrew Bartolotta, and today we have the privilege of speaking with Lisa Moore, founder of More Possibilities Consulting, a firm dedicated to empowering leaders and teams to dream bigger, strategize smarter, and mobilize for meaningful community impact. From our early days growing up with a heart for service to becoming a transformative leader across nonprofit, corporate, and community sectors, Lisa's journey is really a testament to the power of positive leadership. And to know Lisa is to know what it's like to live out your full potential, not afraid to speak up and speak for the marginalized, but also inspire others to be more. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Andrew. I'm going to take you on the road with me. That was an amazing intro. I like her.
I have been inspired by you since I met you, which was when we started our Good Works videos for cityCURRENT way back when I started almost a decade ago.
Doesn't that feel like forever ago?
It does. It does. It's crazy. And your work has been making an impact for decades now. You know, you initially launched More Possibilities Consulting under a different name in 2009. You're now consulting full-time. Talk about the evolution of More Possibilities over the years and how your work has evolved.
Yeah. Well, I'd had a rich career in leadership and reached a point where I felt like I needed to take a leap and try something different. And I wanted to take the skills that I'd learned through my leadership journey with amazing mentors and coaches along the way to then give back to helping equip leaders across the country, mostly in the nonprofit sector at that point. So in 2009, I launched Dancing Water. And Dancing Water made sense to me. I'm a former, very serious competitive swimmer, and water was just always life to me from birth, really. And so to me, water always wins. It's all powerful. It's kind of like life is gonna life. And the key, if you've ever been whitewater rafting or kayaking, if you're in some sort of treacherous kind of fast moving water where there are boulders and such, it's a possibility. You are taught one thing first. If you fall out, have you ever been taught this lesson, Andrew?
I haven't.
If you fall out of the boat, feet first. Lay back and go feet first, because your feet will hit things, and you just relax and let the current take you and you'll be safe. And so to me, and there's this great quote that everybody always uses about life is not about learning to avoid the storms, it's learning to dance in the rain. And so to me, that all kind of became this metaphor for leadership of let's learn to dance in the hard spots. Let's make the hard decisions and when things get tough, and know that if we just relax, we're more buoyant, we're more resilient, and we can flow around the obstacles. But that's a lot of explanation for people. And so people would hear, Dancing Water, and they're like, oh, is it a dance studio? Or is it, fountains? Is it, the Luxor? What is it? At Bellagio, fountains? What is it? And no, it's leadership development. Oh, wow. Okay. So fast forward, I did corporate leadership development at FedEx. I came back to the nonprofit sector as the CEO of Girls Inc. in Memphis for 10 years. And it was time to evolve again. And I wanted to get back into that space of coaching and equipping leaders, primarily women leaders. It's a unique dynamic that we face in the leadership role. And I realized that the name of the company needed to better represent what I'm about and at least somewhat be closer to sounding like leadership development. And to me, I believe that everyone is a leader. Some have titles, some don't, and that we all have that inherent leadership capacity and ability and desire within us, and anything's possible. And so I kind of made a play on my name, Lisa Moore, and that notion of possibility and more possibilities was born.
It's so cool that you're really inspiring leaders and teams for community impact, especially, with a focus on women leaders, because you have seen it firsthand and you've helped break the glass ceiling for so many women and also stand alongside them and support them. So it's been really cool as an outsider to see you do that. Share an example how you've seen this transformation take place within an organization as you consult and work with them.
I was at an event last night for women leaders with a women's impact fund organization, and it was about the opportunity gap that women face. And there's something really, really powerful about appreciating and understanding how isolating leadership can be for women. I'm sure it is for men as well. It is particularly isolating for women, and so much of it, and I don't want to give too many specifics because I don't want to out organizations like that. But the truth is, to come in as a coach, to walk alongside a CEO of an organization, a business, a nonprofit, uh, heavy is the head that wears the crown is very, very true. And as a woman leader, you're often very much misunderstood, you're misrepresented, you're often the only voice in the room that can give a perspective on behalf of girls and women. And as a leader, you're facing a lot of challenge and complexity that you can't just speak to your team about all the time. Sometimes and so you're by yourself needing to make that decision. And so as a coach, it's great to be able to walk alongside these leaders and make sure that they really appreciate and understand that you're not alone. Every other leader is facing this very same thing. And I like to provide opportunities for these women leaders to get together to have these conversations, just so they also can say, "Oh yeah, I'm not alone." But even still, you don't always want to put all your business out there. But as a coach, it's almost like a therapist in a way. It's confidential, and so you can keep it real. I can keep it real. I can ask the hard questions. And Andrew, you've known me a long time. I'm going to ask the hard question.
That's why we love you.
you know, and it because I want to push you. I want to help you navigate and open up the reality that you can do this. You can do the hard things.
Well, once again, I think that is very important that you're doing that. And you've worked inside organizations like Bridges, Girls Inc., FedEx, where they're not afraid to have tough conversations.
Right.
Unfortunately, across the average business and nonprofit sector, it's very vanilla where they don't want to have those conversations and they gloss over, but then they're building up the tension within, and there's challenges that need to be exposed so
Right.
growth we can grow, but then also remember why the nonprofit exists
Mm,
for specific advocacy area. So you have to
yes.
get muddy within all of that, and really just have that coach is so important. I recently started to have a mental health coach, and she specifically didn't call it a therapist, and I thought, okay, why? But the more I've had those sessions, the more I realized that I needed someone to just have that companionship of conversation with the tough questions that I was battling with.
Yep.
And that's so important to have a consultant there that has done the work, that has been in those situations to say, here's what I've learned, or here's what I see that you may not see. And
Mhm.
you've had this extensive experience across both various boards and community initiatives, nonprofit sector, but also the corporate sector. How do you see the role of leadership evolving in the nonprofit sector specifically, especially like post COVID, and how we are really in this like new frontier?
I think across the board, be it corporate, nonprofit, government, you name it, if you were leading in the time of COVID, you learn things you never even knew you were going to learn. It was really interesting because when the shutdown happened, I mean, I'd been leading for 30 years, and at that point, there's very little that'll come across the desk that's new.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, seen this before. This is how I deal with it. I had nothing, right? We collectively had nothing to draw on the entire globe shutting down is nothing we've experienced before. So the ability to we're resilient. And those that did not have those perseverance and resilience skills suffered and potentially closed.
Mhm.
So I think some of those key skills that you hear about and you learn about that the power of resiliency and perseverance in any aspect of life is a key indicator of the ability to overcome challenge and adversity and fear effectively. I think really played out. And so we learned that things, we used to do 5 to 10 year strategic plans. Not anymore. How about 2? Let's look at 1.
Yeah.
And so the notion of strategy got shorter and more nimble. And so to learn to kind of build those muscles is proven very, very important. One thing that I'm hearing more about, thank goodness, that I'd like to really raise up is that for so long, the nonprofit sector was seen as charity work and was seen as easy and cheap, inexpensive, if you will. Well, all of a sudden, somewhere along the line, nonprofits were being called on to actually address critical community needs and have outcomes and key indicators of success and be able to report to, the community, all these things. There was a higher expectation, but there was never a shift in the mindset of what it took to run these organizations. And so many executives would go, oh, my retirement plan is I'm going to run a nonprofit because it's like, easy. No, it's harder. Having worked in corporate and nonprofit, there's complexity, there's intensity, there's challenge everywhere. But this work over here in the nonprofit sector is hard because you don't have a widget that can earn the money to run the business. You're dealing in humans and human behavior that is really fluid. It doesn't just respond in the ways in which you can manipulate a factory or a system, right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm hearing in the nonprofit sector these days, a little bit, and it needs to be more, so I'm going to say it here, is that nonprofit really that name needs to be changed. And it is business. It is big business. It is important business. It's vital business. And we need to stop the perception. And I'm hearing that there's a shift in the perception of this isn't charity, this is vital community asset. And it's a business. And it doesn't mean we're, pimping out people. It means you have to run like a business. You have to think strategically like a business. You have to make decisions like a business. And you have to have the heart and the compassion and the love for community to be able to do that work effectively and equitably.
Very well said. And I think that the work that nonprofits are doing is vital. And we saw that because of the pandemic, specifically when the nonprofits were the first to step up and say, we're already doing most of this work. We need the help. We need the support. We've been doing this isn't cheap work, like you mentioned. This isn't just the fun thing to have. These are vital for the community. This is vital. And because these nonprofits exist, these people are able to get out of generational poverty. They're able to have an opportunity to succeed or have educational training or infrastructure in place for them to excel and break barriers, generational barriers that they have. And so I like that there is this conversation being had that the term nonprofit is really not essential to what the true work is being had, and how important it is for this work, this industry, to be able to say, we're showing up, we're doing the hard work. And not only that, but we need your support, and we need people to roll up their sleeves and make an impact. This isn't just fun work to take pictures or to put on our resume. This is vital work to bring across change in different sectors. And
Okay.
when we saw you as executive director at Girls Inc. Memphis, you were getting your hands dirty and making the work happen there. And so, as someone who saw your work as inspiring because you were doing this incredible work and you're expanding the Girls Inc. centers, what lessons from this experience can be applied to the organizational growth and community engagement more broadly? Maybe some of the
Mhm.
lessons that you learned specifically working in that sector.
Right. I would say some key lessons from working in the nonprofit sector are um, strong boards, committed boards, collaborative boards are essential. You can have an amazing executive that can get out there and raise the money and be visible and everything else, but it should never be a single proposition like, oh, she's got it, he's got it, they've got it. It really needs to be a collaborative effort, and 50% of a board's role is around finances. And so many people are like, "Oh, I don't like to raise money." You don't have to raise the money. Get me the meeting. I'll raise the money. Just get me in the door, and we can do this together. You get us in the door. You sit there and say, "Yep, that's why I'm on the board, and I do the do," and that's really really essential. So big lesson learned. The board has to be actively engaged and responsive and involved and be willing to fight for the organization's strength. Second thing I'll say is advocacy is important. When you're running a community-based organization, you are representing the individuals that you serve, the families that you serve, the communities that you serve. And if you're not invested in that community, if you don't know the community, you're not out there and involved in the community, you're not leading. You're providing something. But you're not leading effective change, equitable change. You're not raising up the voices of those that you serve. And so don't be afraid to advocate for your constituents. Don't be afraid. And always lean on, and the kind of subset of that, don't be afraid to advocate, is always lean on your mission, your vision, and your strategic plan. Period. If you have a strategy, if these are what you find important as an organization, have a good strategic plan, even if it's just for a year out. This is our strategy this year. Then follow so when an advocacy opportunity presents itself, and I'll share an example. After George Floyd was murdered, nonprofits in Memphis came together and wrote an open letter to the city for changes that needed to happen to keep this type of atrocity from happening again. And even though it did. So we presented a slate of really great recommendations of ways to improve our community that makes it more equitable and safe for everyone. And which is what we all want, right?
Right.
And as I'm walking to the press conference, another nonprofit leader asked me, "Were you afraid to sign the letter? Are you worried about being at this press conference?" And my head whipped around real fast and said, "No, not at all." I said, "Yes, I have a board. I shared it with the board, but the board and I collectively immediately said yes, because it's in alignment with our strategic plan, it's in alignment with our mission, and it's in alignment with what's best for who we serve." And if funders don't like that, then that's their prerogative. But I'm not going to live in fear of that, because what we want are funders that are in alignment with our strategic plan and our mission anyway.
Amen.
So don't be afraid to advocate on behalf of those that you serve. Yeah, those are the top two. Board, staff collaboration, and don't be afraid to advocate for those you serve. And I guess the number one really is know your people, be equitable.
Before we wrap up, for leaders looking to make a difference in their communities, what's one piece of advice you'd share based on your extensive experience?
I think the number one advice I give to leaders to be as effective as you can be is know yourself fully. And take the measures and steps that you need to understand that, and to build your skills around that. Get a coach. LeBron James has a bunch of coaches. Like, you can be at the top of your game and you need that support. And so often we feel like it's a sign of to reach out, to get training, to get support, to get that kind of feedback, is often seen as showing a weakness, like there's something wrong with me. When that's not at all the case. It's taking what you've got and how to make it even stronger. So be open to feedback, be open to coaching, seek out those opportunities to network with others so that you can share and learn from others. It'll sustain you in the hard times.
I agree. I think all of the strong leaders that I know, or even colleagues, all have at least one coach that they work with, at least one person they know that they can count on to keep them transparent, but also to encourage them and to have that feedback back and forth, because that's so important in
That's
what
right.
you're doing. And it's not, like you said, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength that you
Yes.
recognize that you don't know all the answers, and you're going to uh, collaborate with your mind, but also help others. You will be a stronger asset when you have someone, a coach that you can work with to fine tune your skills, but also encourage you to step out and to make a difference.
Yeah.
So how can those interested organizations or leaders connect with you and learn more about the services offered by More Possibilities Consulting?
Email's brilliant. Lisa at more possibilities.com. LinkedIn is great. Just look Lisa Moore up. That's really the best way.
Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your insights into leadership and how you're helping leaders and organizations harness the power of possibility for a brighter, more connected future. Lisa, thank you for powering the good in our community and around the globe.
Thank you so much, Andrew. You're just a joy.